This is episode 16 with Patrick Bet-David. Hi, my name is Leon Gabrielian, and this is the Thriving Life Club, the podcast for those who want to thrive in every area of life. Thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the club. Let's begin. Welcome back to the club, champion. Our today's guest is Patrick Bet-David. He's an entrepreneur and a financial advisor. Patrick immigrated to the United States in 1990 when he was 12 years old. After high school, he enlisted in the United States Army and served with the 101st Airborne Division. After leaving the Army, he got a job at Morgan Stanley right before 9/11. In 2009, he opened a financial services agency called People Helping People. Patrick published 4 books, and the most controversial book is called Drop Out and Get Schooled. We're excited to have you visit with us today, Patrick. Welcome to the Thriving Life Club.
Leon, it's good to be with you.
Let's talk about the dirty side of the business. Let's talk to the 3 categories of entrepreneurs. The beginner who has a business idea, hasn't started, the one who's hustling, and then the third type who has a business, they maintain and build the business. So let's talk about the daily mental and emotional challenges and the torture of running a business. What can you share with us about that?
Got it. So somebody who's a beginner getting started, they've been an employee most of their lives, and most of their lives is about doing something after somebody tells them what to do. So you're learning how to take orders, right? And so the transition to go from learning how to take orders to actually being the one making the orders and leading and making decisions, that is very difficult initially because you've never done it before. So it's a new skill set that you need to learn. And that initial part of it's going to be very, very challenging for most people. Now, as far as somebody in the middle that's already had some success and they build on that business, let's just say they get their business to $500,000, maybe $1 million your business, and their top line revenue is $1 million, and they're netting, let's just say $200,000. They're doing okay. They're not doing bad. But now they hit a spot, which is the level where you start thinking, I've already made it. Sometimes when people go out to a level and they grow their business and they feel like they've hit a milestone where they've already made it, you start facing challenges. And the challenge you face is you think your business will continuously grow without you having a certain level of paranoia and fear that it could collapse. If you don't think that somebody else out in the marketplace wants to take your business away from you, someone's going to do that to you and you'll be shell-shocked the day it happens. So number 2 torture is you kind of getting a feel that some people that maybe used to be friends, now they're no longer friends. Now they're enemies. Some people who were rooting you on to make it in business, the reality was internally, they never thought you were going to make it. They were just saying it to make you feel good. They knew you were not going to make it, so you made it. You made them look bad. So imagine they would tell their spouse, you know he's not going to make it. What do you think, he's going to make it? There's no way that guy's going to make it. So then you make it. His wife's like, wait a minute, he made it. So to justify in front of their wives, their friends, their family members that you made it, they have to bash you. That is a very normal process when that takes place. And last but not least, once you get big and you're established at that level, same exact thing as number 2. If you don't adapt, a new person in the marketplace is going to come and take your business away from you as well. So when you get bigger, you're running a real legitimate business and you get bigger, that's when comfort comes in. That's when lack of adapting to the marketplace comes in. That's when lack of innovation comes in. That's when arrogance comes in. That's when people who were there at the beginning stages, they kind of start becoming bureaucrats and aristocrats and too cool for game, too cool for the dirty part of the business. And then you could take a hit there as well from somebody else that comes in and takes that market. So regardless of what phase it is, you're going to have some kind of challenge you're going to need to face. You need to overcome.
Could you bring some examples from your personal experience as you were building the company from the beginning?
Yes. So one was many friends who supported, and they would say things like, Pat, I just want you to know I'm rooting you on secretly, but don't tell anybody. They were the same people that a year later were bashing me behind my back and saying the most dirty things about me on what we were doing with the business. But in my face, oh my gosh, Pat, we're rooting you on. Yeah, you were rooting me on until I became your competition. And then it was no longer rooting you on. Or there'd be people that would say, even later on as you're going through it, competitors who were bigger and they knew with a decision that could hurt our business, that come and say, hey, this is we're going to put you out of business, and they start spreading rumors about the company and what we're doing to other insurance carriers. That happened a lot. But the number of stories, there are so many of them out there I could be telling you right now.
So what kept you going? What made you persevere?
Yeah, so I'm a true believer in what I'm doing. I'm a true believer in the cause that we have. Money's easy to make. This is America. This is not a difficult place to make money. It's actually the easiest place to make money. So if anybody tells you it's tough to make money, they're just not taking advantage of all the tools that are available to them. But I'm a true believer. A true believer is more than just money. There's a purpose behind it. There's a reason behind what you're doing. And so for me, what kept me going through it, I truly believe that when this becomes a reality, the amount of positive impact it's going to make in the world, it's so big that all the gods, everybody around me, the higher law, the man upstairs, everybody's rooting on for this to become a reality, because everybody knows once this becomes a reality, many, many people will be positively affected by this company.
You didn't do it by yourself. In order to build this company, I'm assuming you had to learn how to build teams, right?
You're not going to build anything big without having a team. So you have to learn how to build a team. You have to learn how to bring people on your team that have their own set of egos, that their ego can fit within your ego, and your vision is so big that people that are bigger thinkers can also come and run with you, because the size of how big they think, they can fit within the dream that you have in place. So think about it this way. Think about it this way. When a company first gets started, the company is the founder. Let me say one more time. When a company first gets started, the company is the founder. The longer the company stays the founder, the less the value the company is. The less of the company is the founder, the more of the value the company goes, which means a value of a company can go to the roof. If it's a $50 billion company, if the founder were to die, he were to leave, he were to have something happen to him, let's just say that company goes from 50 billion to 45 billion, but it doesn't go from 50 billion to 5 billion. If it goes from 50 to 5 billion, that means that company was the founder. Okay. So the only way you can make the company be extremely valuable is the less the company needs you. And to do that is you got to go out and build leaders. You got to build leaders in a home office. You got to build leaders in the field. You got to build leaders in training. You got to build leaders in your operations. You got to build leaders with your partners. You got to build leaders with your vendors. There's a lot of people you got to build leaders with.
Patrick, I'm wondering, how are you able to deliver such consistency in having the company top line revenue beat prior quarter for 11 quarters in a row? How are you able to do that?
First of all, we have data everywhere. Like right now, while I'm on the screen with you, I have a 42-inch TV to my left, 3 of them, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different metrics for me to look at. That is different data for me to look at. From my office, looking outside my office, there's 1 monitor, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more monitors on the other side. With each department, I'm looking at them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30 different metrics that we're looking at on the other side. I am paying attention to the smallest details in a business to help grow the company to the next level. There are areas that are the main priorities that I work on, and then there are areas that are not the main priority and maybe a smaller one, but I want every single area that I need to know about, I want to pay attention to it. So obviously, this is not going to go, 50 different quarters, 20 different quarters. There's going to be eventually a quarter that we may not be able to hit it off. Right now, we're on track for being 12 quarters by the end of March, but it may not end up being, 20, 30 quarters in a row. But the key is we are always focused on the smallest metrics we can find that we can improve in, and we address that.
In business, there's the other side that's filled with anxiety attacks, panic attacks, stress, arguments, fights, bickering, contracting games, manipulation. Just wanted to, bulletproof my listener and give them any kind of tools or advice to help them break through that faster and easier.
Yeah, the only way to be bulletproof is to focus on you improving your game. There's nothing more powerful than that to me. Take responsibility for what you have control over and focus on that. Everything else on the outside, I have no control over. It's like being in a relationship. Let's say you date a girl, okay? I've been in relationships where they haven't worked out, and when the relationship ends, we are very quick to blame the other person. Very quick. You ask any girl, the last 3 boyfriends, if a girl had 3 boyfriends that didn't work out, ask the girl what happened with those 3 relationships. It's 10 out of 10 times she's going to say it was his fault. And we're going to buy it. Now you go ask those 3 boyfriends that she had and you ask them whose fault it was. He's going to say it's her fault, right? Because we don't like to be at fault. It's just not a place we like to come from. It's a lot easier to blame something on somebody else. Well, in the world of business, if you do that, you are dead within 3 to 6 months. Because the only way you're going to make it in business is when everything is your fault. The only way. The only way you're going to make it in business is when everything is your fault, when everything is your responsibility, when everything is, you got to have some sort of a control over it to improve it. You got to measure it. You got to improve it. You got to drive it. You got to create an environment where people who need to improve in certain areas are going to be improving. Because if everybody else wants to play games, let's just say you date a girl and she's at fault and the relationship ends, you sit there and say, what did I do wrong? 1, I begged too much. I made it too easy. It was too much about, oh my gosh, I love you, all this other stuff. And there was no sense of takeaway. There was no sense of, the what if. There was no any of that stuff. Or maybe you guys used to date and at first it used to be spicy surprises, flowers, all these other notes, songs. You would make CDs with songs for her and all those things. You haven't done that for 7 years. So she didn't marry you today. She married you of 7 years ago. So how come you're not doing that of you of 7 years ago? The same goes with business. Nothing is different with that. So if you control you improve you, generally everything's going to work out in your favor.
Since you mentioned family and relationships, let's shift gears slightly. Tell me, what is your approach to raising children and building your family parallel to building a business? How do you maintain that balance?
For me, I have 4 things I teach my kids. You got to lead, you got to respect, you got to improve, you got to love. Everything in life is about that. 1, lead in every situation you're a part of. Respect everybody because everybody's got something to teach you. Improving is the biggest savior in life because as long as you can improve, things are going to work out. And then last but not least, it's love people because everybody in life is facing some kind of a challenge that they need some kind of an encouragement. So you got to love people. You got to realize and no one in the world is full of love. Everybody needs a little bit more love. Now, having said that, I do run a business where I'm running and traveling all the time. I'm on the road all the time. I think in the last week, I was in Denver twice. I was in New York twice. Literally, I went from here, New York, Denver, LA, back to Dallas. Then I went to New York, Denver, back to Dallas twice in 7 days. And my schedule in the last month has been insanity. My schedule the last 18 months has been even crazier. Sometimes I tell my schedule to people and they almost don't believe it. They think it's like a joke when I tell them my schedule on how many miles I'm traveling, everywhere I'm going. But it's a conversation I have with my family before we even got married. I told them what life I want to live, what I want to build. So I need a supporting cast. I need a support team. I need the right teachers. I need the right, a nanny that helps us out. My wife and I have bought into what we're going to be doing. They're always at the office. I created the office in a way where kids want to be at the office. I have a slide. My office looks like a park. Literally, my office looks like a park. I have a candy store here. I have a slide here. I have ping pong tables here. I have a foosball table here. I have shuffleboard. I have arcade here. I have a gym here. I have a movie theater here. I have so many different toys here. So kids want to come. A lot of our employees, kids are always at the office having a good time, and I like it that way. But then the other part with the kids is, I read a book many, many years ago. It was called Thank God It's Monday. And the premise behind Thank God It's Monday was written by a marriage counselor, Thank God It's Monday. He wrote this because so many years he would meet with husband and wives and they couldn't wait for it to be Monday so they can get away from their family because they couldn't stand being around their family. It was so difficult. Kids were screaming. Wife and husband were always arguing. So he watched so many people get a divorce and they would talk about constantly about Thank God It's Monday. And then finally he said, after so many different mistakes I saw and I made, I realized everybody in your family, while they're growing up, including your wife, while you're building your life, they need 5 to 15 minutes of one-on-one every day. The older they get, it's a little bit more if they need it. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes it's 2 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. But they just need a little bit of a one-on-one conversation with you, not just group, but more one-on-one. So I do my best to make sure I have that one-on-one conversation with both of my boys and my wife. So whatever's on their mind that they want to share with me, that maybe what happened to their day and something they're struggling with and something they're dealing with, that allows me to give as much input as I can, or just be a sounding board and just listen to them. And at that moment, eventually there's a certain opportunities there to feed whatever you're thinking about. And then last but not least, with my kids, long term, what I think about with my kids, I had a conversation with my wife. I said, you realize we have a lot of resources? She says, yes. I said, thank God we've been blessed with a lot of resources. Yes. I said, please, let's not hesitate on using any of these resources on the kids as long as it has to do with leadership development with them. I'm not talking about toys. I'm not talking about any of that stuff, but I'm talking about them having every kind of tutor possible, involved in many different courses, sports, activities, music. I want their minds to be in so many different things until all of a sudden one of them catches on. And once that one thing catches on and they become obsessed with it, they're in love with it. I want to feed it even more and hone in into that one thing so we can potentially take that passion to a whole different level. So those are some of the things I have when I think about my family.
That's fantastic. You teach them to lead, respect, improve, love, and also don't bully and don't get bullied.
That's right.
You've had some experience with bullies. I've had some experience with bullies. What are your thoughts? What can you share about how to handle bullies in business, in life, in general?
It's just, you can't avoid it, man. It's not that there is no permanent, like, here's these 6 rules you will permanently get rid of all the bullies. And I've read and watched pretty much, all the different arguments. Love your bullies. If you love your bullies, they will do this. If you love your this, and they will do this. You got to love your bullies. You got to love your enemies. And fine, there's a place for that. Yes, I get it. In the business world, if you love your enemies will secretly, lovingly put you out of business. I mean, I got a call from an enemy the other day and we spoke for a long time, but never for a single second did I think that guy's cheering for me to stay in business. Not for a single second. The whole thought that guy has while he's thinking about what we're doing is the fact that I'm hoping you go out of business. Then we can become good friends. You see, it's very easy to be friends with somebody that's not at your level. It is very easy to be friends with somebody that's not at your level. It is very hard to be friends with somebody that's kicking your ass. Very hard. That is not an easy person to be friends with, especially you're very competitive. You'll generally see everybody who's friends with each other, they'll generally be at the same level. And if one of the friends separates from the other friends, the other 4 don't like that friend anymore. It's a very weird dynamic. They don't like that friend anymore. They secretly talk behind that friend. So, the more you anticipate certain things in life, you anticipate that there's going to be enemies, there's going to be bullies, there's going to be people that are going to try to push you around, and you pivot to the best of your abilities. Eventually you'll learn how to manage those better. Eventually bullies will try to avoid you as much as possible because they know you're going to stand up for yourself, or they can't bother you anymore like they used to. They're no longer your main attention that you think about a lot because you moved on. And then sometimes in the world of business, one of the best things that happens is when one of your competitors starts pointing out your weaknesses, just start making a list of all of them. Because if 2 or 3 of them are true weaknesses that you need to work on, that's why you hire consultants. You pay consultants hundreds of thousands of dollars so they can find a weakness, but your enemies and competitors will give it to you for free. They just saved you a couple $100,000 of consulting fees. And I like that. So my approach sometimes is I dance with my bullies. I appreciate my bullies. I appreciate my haters, my critics. I love it when they talk smack because I'm just taking notes. I'm just sitting there and taking notes. One is because it's very fun when you write about your bullies one day. You tell your stories about your bullies one day. And the other one is you also have an opportunity to find a way to improve yourself as well with some of the criticism they're making.
Beautiful. And what place does your relationship with your parents play in your success in business specifically and in life? Because you're a wise guy. I enjoy listening and also watching videos on your YouTube channel, the Valuetainment channel. I can definitely tell that you're wise and it comes from somewhere.
Well, my parents play a big role. I mean, very, very big role. Yesterday, I was with Steve Aoki. I don't know if you know who Steve Aoki is. He's a very well-known DJ, Steve Aoki. And we were hanging out together, and he was telling me the story about his mother and his father. His mother was full of love. He couldn't do anything wrong. It was always love, love, love. I love my son. My son is perfect. My son is amazing. I love you so much, son. And the father, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. Okay, so his father was very critical. It was never enough. His father was a founder of Benihana. His father was a champion wrestler in the Hall of Fame. His father was the backgammon world champion. His father was a speedboat racing champion. His father once broke a Guinness Book of World Record that stood for 35 years of flying a hot air balloon from Japan to U.S. I mean, who thinks about doing things like that, right? His father was wealthy. He was on Oprah Winfrey. His father was quoted in the movie Wall Street, Wolf of Wall Street. At the end, when the guy gets arrested, you see the movie Rocky Aoki being mentioned. His father was a larger-than-life personality, partied with Tony Curtis, partied with, all these different rock stars himself, with Bob Hope. And so on one end, he has love. On the other end, he has an element of nothing is ever enough, okay? Sometimes in life, when you experience those both things together, it's almost like you're combining the right combination to create a nuclear bomb, and you do it accidentally. So you'll see some kids that come out of perfect families, and they perfectly become average. But they came out of perfect families. Mom loved, dad loved. They were good kids. They went to a good private school. No major disaster happened in their lives. So who do they become? A good citizen to the world. They have sex. They make babies. They get married. They live a good life. They give money to their church. They make 120 grand a year. They pay their taxes. They watch movies. They travel once a year. Every 5 years, they go to Europe. Once a year, they go to Hawaii. Once a quarter, they go to Vegas. They drive a nice BMW 5 Series, nice Lexus, maybe a nice Toyota van or an SUV, maybe an Expedition or a Suburban to take the kids to school. They live a good life. And then they die, and no one remembers them. And then some people have a very messed up family with a lot of different issues, a lot of different challenges. And sometimes these families create a ridiculous level of a human being that wants to go out there and do something big to prove to the world that, look, I got somebody that believes in me. It's my mom. I got somebody that doesn't believe in me. It's my dad. Look what I'm going to be doing to the world. And the world ends up knowing about it. Where today Steve Aoki is known as Guinness Book of World Record, the highest traveling musician in the world. He is known as the hardest working musician in the world. He made $29.5 million last year from DJing. Let me say it again, $29.5 million last year just DJing. How did he make that? There's a documentary you got to watch on Steve Aoki. It's called I Will Sleep When I Die. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead is the documentary. It's fascinating. It's emotional. It's insanity. So why am I telling you this story here? I grew up in that kind of a family. I had both elements. I had one side that nothing was ever enough, and I had one side that was love and belief, and combined together turned into what it is today. And so I went through a lot of different things. When you live in Iran and you go through wars and bombing, you think you're dead every other day. And so you try to enjoy your moment, the smallest little moment on Friday in Iran at the park with the snow. It's heavenly. When you come home and your parents are there even for 5 minutes and you can see them sitting there together, it's heavenly. My parents got a divorce. Only for 10 years of my life, they were together. At the refugee camp, you're living over there, you're getting stabbed. Crazy things are happening at a refugee camp at a young age. You learn a lot about a lot of things. First time ever a friend betrayed me was in Germany. I learned those things. It was a great experience. It created paranoia to me. Then I joined the army. I'm the only Middle Eastern person in the army. Everybody else is white, black, Asian, Hispanic. You learn how to deal with different cultures. So all of these things, they all help. Every one of these things help. We give way too much credit to perfection, and sometimes we don't give enough credit to knowing that an explosion needs both elements. It doesn't just need a happy element. There's got to be a chip behind it as well. I was fortunate enough to have both of them.
Very good. I can definitely relate to that. My family is also the same way. What is your definition of a thriving life?
What is my definition of a thriving life?
Yes.
What is my definition of a thriving life? I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's constantly improving. It's constantly advancing. It's constantly getting better. It's constantly overcoming new challenges. It's a constant recreation mode, recreating yourself, rebuilding yourself, reigniting yourself, refiring yourself up. As long as it's in the advancement mode, that's what I would put as thriving. If it's not, then it's the complete opposite, obviously.
Definitely. If you had to put it in one sentence and say life is, what would it be?
Life is funny. I'd probably say that word. I've probably said that sentence, maybe 50,000 times. Life is funny.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us at the club. Great pleasure.
Leon, thanks for having me.
And there we have it. Another amazing guest has visited our club. Make sure to subscribe to the Thriving Life Club podcast on your favorite app. Simply go to thrivinglifeclub.com/ and the name of your favorite platform. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube. You get the point. You will find the show notes, the episode freebie, and the resources mentioned during the episode by navigating your browser to thrivinglifeclub.com/ and the number of this episode. For example, for the episode 3, you would go to thrivinglifeclub.com/3. For the episode 7, you would go to thrivinglifeclub.com/7. We want to make this podcast the #1 podcast on iTunes in its category. When you feel inspired, head over to iTunes and give us a quick review to keep the podcast commercial free and get it discovered by more people like you and families like yours. Rate and review the podcast on iTunes and share it with your friends. Let's inspire more people together. And until the next episode, just remember, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, live a thriving life.